Minneapolis trolley tours are. But now there's big news. The Kind of Like Ghost Tours now began at the historic Pillsbury Club, a beautifully restored haunted mansion once owned by Charles Pillsbury himself. Believe it or not, the interior is nearly 200 years older than the exterior. How is that possible? You'll have to come out and find out. Before or after your tour, stop by the on-site market featuring a curated collection of handmade goods, artisan crafts, and locally inspired treasures. Perfect for picking up a keepsake to remember your haunting adventure. You'll also find exclusive spooky merchandise from Tales of the Crypt and Elvira. Then climb aboard the climate-controlled trolley as we travel through Minneapolis's haunted hotspots, uncovering ghost stories that locals would rather keep buried. The mansion is restored to perfection, and there is no better way to spend an evening. Visit MinneapolisTrolleyTours.com for tickets and more information. It's that time of year where the weather is getting nice and it's time to get out of the house for some family fun. Lily Putt is open for the season, and you know what that means. Lily Putt is known for its mini golf, go-karts, glow golf, jump pads, kiddie carts, gem mining, and even a new arcade. Lily Putt also has interactive and engaging escape rooms like the Haunted Mansion, the Bunker, or Night of the Wolf. Lily Putt is perfect for parties and group events. Stop by lilyputt.net for more information and hours of operation.
With your AM 950 weather, I'm Patrick Lilia. Tonight, cloudy with a low of 64, then Friday, sunshine with a high of 82. The Great Wall has been your home for Chinese favorites since 1981. Don't miss the sesame chicken, mushu pork with Chinese pancakes, or Peking duck. Stop in at the restaurant on France Avenue and 45th Street along the Minneapolis-Edina City line, or check them out at greatwallrestaurant.us.
Portions of the following program may be pre-recorded.
The views expressed and the opinions given by the individual host, guest, random reptoid, or chupacabra may not necessarily reflect those of AM 950 Radio, its affiliates, or its sponsors. Now, it's time to step into the unknown. There are things people experience but never talk about. A shadow moving in the corner, flickering of the lights, a disembodied voice. We invite you to talk with us. Share your story, share your experience, because this isn't just your story. This is our story. This is GhostBox Radio with Greg Bakun.
And this is GhostBox Radio on AM 950, where every night we talk about the paranormal, ufology, Bigfoot, and so much more. My name is Greg Bakun. Thank you very much for joining us. Before we get into it, I just want to quickly say, last night, I've got a lot of people talking with me about the kind of the investigation we did last night. We had psychic medium Jennifer Lee energetically go through the building, the headquarters of AM 950. We were all out there, and it was pretty crazy. And so I just want to say once again that we are looking at maybe doing a little bit more, maybe like a 2-hour one at some point with Jennifer. We were talking with her about that, but I also want to quickly let you all know that Monday we're going to have Andra on as well as Adam, and we are going to do kind of a roundtable discussion of what happened last night. It was a pretty incredible evening, and if you have a chance, you should check it out. Go to GhostBox Radio on YouTube. We have it out there. You can watch the entire episode, and you can watch Andra taking the camera all throughout the building and kind of going to the places that Jennifer is picking up energy. And once again, Jennifer is not in Minnesota. And that's the fun part about it, is that people who often think, oh my gosh, I have to be somewhere to be able to read something. That's not the case at all. That's called remote viewing. And it is pretty fantastic. So definitely worth your time to look at. I'll tell you something else that's going to be worth your time. You know, we have a lot of authors on the program, and we talked about this when GhostBox Radio was live from Twin Cities Pride, but we're not done talking about it. And I'm really excited because my friend here, author Paul David Stanko, wrote this wonderful book that's a little dog-eared. I'm not going to lie here. It's a little dog-eared, but it's also signed, which is kind of nice. You didn't put any profanities in there, right? Okay, so I'm putting it up to the camera. But it's called 42 Stories of Life, the Universe, Everything. And I want to talk about it. And I have with me tonight the one, the only, the author himself, Paul David Stanko. Paul, how are you? Welcome to GhostBox Radio.
Greg, I'm amazing. Thank you so much for having me back again. And I am glad that it's dog-eared. I hope that it keeps getting more dog-eared because it means you're going back and checking out the stories. I love it.
There is something about that, isn't there? Having a book that is well read and in every possible way, that is, that's just been through the ringer, and there's something I do like about it. I agree. Any book that you look like you've taken off the shelf many times, that you reference it, you look at something up, you enjoy it. That is a sign of a good book, isn't it?
Well, and I'm glad that you feel that way about this book because it's designed to be bite-sized little chunks that can be read out of order. And that's the cool part. You can keep going back to it each time, and as life's, right, you'll find different aspects of it that will apply to you, and suddenly a story will take a different twist and have a different meaning for you, and that's super cool.
Now, if I'm to go on a limb here, would that be 42 bite-size pieces?
You are so intuitive, Greg. That is exactly what it is. It's 42 bite-sized stories that unpack the metaphysical, that unpack spirituality, and we talk about death, we talk about relationships, we talk about the story.
And I apologize. One of us tonight are having internet issues, and my guess is probably me. I don't know. So I apologize because Paul, some of what you're talking about got chopped up a little bit, and I don't. It's frustrating. Internet can be frustrating, can't it? We lose Paul.
It can be.
It can be. It can be. Yeah. Yeah. And I just, okay, now I'm getting this like little twirly thing on air. This is great radio when I don't know if it's my internet or his, that it's kind of like we're losing each other. And hopefully, I don't know if you all can hear me out there, let me know, because I don't know if it's me or Paul for that matter. Now you're back. Welcome back.
Thank you. I just took a little vacation there. It was amazing. The weather was warm. I didn't bring any gifts. So
did you just astral plane somewhere and the whole internet went with you, or did I do it? I don't know. I don't know.
It was amazing. And I'm not sure. And I think that's fair. I think especially in this timeline that we somehow got on, I think that's a perfect way to open this whole day. And I want to be fair. I told you this previously. Technology has not been my friend today, and I'm not sure why. So it could be me. Just say it.
Your dynamic personality might be ruining your internet. I don't know. It could be. He's just staring at me now. He just because he's
so weird.
It is so weird. Can you do me a favor? Could you go out and come back in, and maybe that might help?
I will try that. Let me try.
Yeah.
That.
Okay. Okay.
I'll be right back. Talk about how the book is while I'm gone. I'll be back in a second.
I will talk about how wonderful this book is. And that's the wonderful thing about doing this stuff remotely, because you're going to be able to get wonderful guests like Paul that you can't, Paul is in the Twin Cities, so we could go to the studio, but at the same time, it's just so much easier for all of us, especially for a show at 10, that we have, this internet thing happening. But sometimes when it's, for whatever reason, whatever side it's on, it makes it, when it's choppy, it's really choppy. So I do apologize to everybody. But once again, the book is called 42 Stories of Life, the Universe, Everything. And it's available all over the place. You can get it on Amazon. You can also get it. We always say, remember, go to your local booksellers. And if they don't have it, ask them to order it. We always want to try to give as much business to the local bookstores as possible. And, you know, I'm just going to say, you might want to go and check out, like, from Moonstone, Minneapolis. Maybe they have it. We got Paul back. Let's see if that
works.
See if that works. You know, I don't know. Let's back up a second, because I don't know what our listeners were hearing, but why don't we talk about again what the book is about, please?
Absolutely. So the book is 42 different bite-sized stories of, to quote someone I know, life, the universe, everything. It's really all things metaphysical. We talk about things like death. We talk about relationships. We talk about empowerment. We talk about conscious manifestation. And it breaks it all down into small chunks that are told through pop culture references, through my life stories that help bring light and understanding to some of these more complex concepts. Things like the multiverse, or things like the fact that we live in a holographic universe, theories that are very metaphysical and physics driven, and breaks them down and puts them into context through, again, stories or religious connotations that we can maybe unpack a little bit and find the truth within them. What's really important about this whole book, though, is I'm not telling you what to believe in any way, shape, or form. I'm offering you suggestions. In fact, I'm very clear in the book. I say, don't believe me because you read it here. I want you to take what we're talking about out on the road and test it. I want you to live the experiences and see if I'm full of crap. Sometimes I am. My husband would tell you I am. I'm full of crap quite a bit. So learning to have your own experience with this, I think, is the biggest takeaway. It's a self-help book that isn't telling you what to do, but offering you recipes to figure it out for yourself with guidance.
So what is it about the self-help aspect that you were like, you know, first of all, I need to do this. I need to do this book. And secondly, we're going to fill this up with a lot of pop culture. Clearly, Paul, that pop culture is very important to you. But what was it that made you decide to, like a Reese's peanut butter cup, put your peanut butter and chocolate together to create this?
You just showed your age, man, because that's an old
I
commercial.
know, right?
right. So I love the question. I had started writing chapters a while ago, and people, psychics, when I had readings and things, would come through and say, "Oh, you're an author." And I'm like, I'm a musician. That's not really my thing. But I write lyrics, so I get it. But I started writing a couple of different chapters, and I liked where the idea was going. And it sort of began forming over about 5 years. But then last year, about a year ago, 2025, I sat down and gave myself a plan that I wanted to execute this book in 6 months. So I made, for those of you that are Excel geeks, I made a Gantt chart, right? I have a day job where project management is part of my role. So I planned it out and gave myself deadlines and a whole bunch of stuff. But I wanted to bring forth ideas that I'm an ordained minister as well. And so I've been preaching for years. I'm a natural teacher. I'm a tarot card reader. And as I've been doing readings, there are certain themes that keep coming through, or as I'm preaching, there are certain lessons that I keep teaching. I thought, well, why not put them into one place from my lens? And what I find informs me is pop culture. I'm a huge Star Wars fan. I'm a Star Trek geek. I'm a Harry Potter nerd. I'm, all those kind of things all have little elements of the truth in them. And there's some amazing lines from movies that you'll find in this book. Chapters are named after them. And there's bits of wisdom everywhere. And what I discovered early on in my life was that the truth isn't just one thing. It's like a puzzle. Pieces are laying everywhere. And our job as conscious creators of our lives is to assemble those pieces into our version of the puzzle. And I also discovered that there's a lot of people that don't like that thought because they can't control you. And that gives me, as a rebel with a cause, a better cause, to go out there and teach people that it isn't about control, that it's about your empowerment and your relationship to what I refer to as source energy, all that is. And you are empowered to go build your life. And wouldn't people like to know that? So I decided to start writing them down. And I did, 42 of them.
You said something there that I really like. And I think that it might be one of the most freeing sort of things that anyone could ever hear, and that the truth is more than one, like more than one route. There's other ways to get there. And I think, as a person like me growing up who was very much, followed the rules and, went to Catholic church or Catholic school and, just this, point A to point, F is just a straight line. There's other ways to do it, and they're equally valid. Once you know that, it's a very freeing sort of way of living. It kind of opens up all sorts of possibilities.
Well, Greg, I think what people forget is that everyone is making this up.
Yeah.
No one really knows what's going on, no matter what degree you have or what how high you're raised in your religious belief system. Nobody has this figured out. There's a line in the Christian tradition in the book of 1 Corinthians, and in chapter 13, the one that talks about faith, hope, and love, that the Apostle Paul from the Christian faith writes, and now we see through a mirror dimly, but then face to face. And what that always said to me from the time I heard that was, we don't have a clue. We get kind of a dim reflection of what's going on, but we don't really understand until we cross over to the other part of your show, the paranormal side, until we transition back to non-physical, or die is what most people call it. Then we get an understanding of what's going on. And so I learned that lesson on really early. And once I understood that everyone's making it up, then let's find the bits of truth, because there's pieces of truth everywhere. And if we can piece them all together, like in this book, I pulled something from Poltergeist 2, right? Like if anybody ever saw that movie, I did and loved it. And there's some incredible wisdom there. Or there's Devil Wears Prada is in here, Star Wars, of course, Star Trek, all of these little pieces of knowledge that come together to help get a bigger understanding, and they all work together. They all dovetail together. And even as I'm doing and understanding this and writing this and researching this, other religions besides Christianity inform this. So This all started for me back in 1991. I had someone that what I would consider a soulmate. And in fact, there's a whole chapter on this in the book called "Are You Sure You Want a Soulmate?" Because soulmates come into our lives to shake our stuff up and act as catalysts for change. And this individual was killed in a car accident. And it, at 25 years old, I was 25, he was 26, changed my world. I needed to understand what is this thing called life and death. And so I began to research and study, and I read the Bible, the Quran, the Book of the Dead, the Tao Te Ching, the Bhagavad Gita. I just began studying world religions to try to understand, because I was raised not Catholic but Presbyterian, and this didn't enter what I used to understand about life. I mean, I knew people died when they were old and sick, but to have someone young so close to me didn't make sense for me. And so that began my quest to understand it. So I began pulling information from all these different sources for myself, trying to figure out life, the universe, and everything. And as I have, gotten older and kept expanding and kept growing and kept learning, that it felt like it was the right time for me to write some of that information down about my journey. And I'm very clear in this book too. This is what I call my avatar, which is my Paul David, has picked up along the way. And I'm encouraging you to pick up your own story. So if you don't like some of the things I'm saying in here, because I'm pushing buttons on purpose, put that back on a shelf and take something else off. There's 41 other stories for you to read if one of them doesn't resonate with you.
You had and I have to say, you're probably the only person on the planet that's ever talked about theology in Poltergeist 2, which is the chapter you've alluded to. I'm curious, because do you think when you're talking about something like that's you kind of mentioned self-help, is it easier for people to digest that sort of thing when it's coming from a standpoint of somebody who's experienced it and they're talking about how they were able to get through it, opposed to like a straightforward self-help book of like, you should try this, and this sort of thing? You know what I mean?
Well, I think that's a great question. And I think that the fact that I've lived most of these stories gives them credibility.
Right.
Life, I said this earlier, life's, right? It's going to do things. And if you navigate those waters and help and survive, right? And help, you're called to help other people walk those same paths. I mean, this goes into my work as a tarot card reader. When someone sits before me and says, I'm losing a relationship, I think I need to leave my husband. I'm like, well, I had a 15-year relationship that ended horribly. And I've walked through it. And after I made that hard decision and said those hard words, if I'm leaving you, the rest of my life unfolded before me. Or if something comes even to like, I'm in financial crisis. Things are going bad. I'm like, wow, you know what? I had to file bankruptcy once, and it was not fun. But let me walk you through the path because I survived. Or I doubt myself. So self-esteem, a big thing for a lot of people when I was younger. I was fearless when I was in high school, and I got to college and somehow found the shores of self-esteem, which wrecked my boat. And so I was a mess, but I had to go back to learn to loving myself. And so if I can do it, you can do it. And so I think that adds credibility to the stories and to the experiences, because I'm not telling you, oh, you're going to be fine. What I'm saying is, I've been there. I understand you. I empathize. Now, here's what I did. Let's see what we can do to help you find your path.
That's incredible. Paul, what I want to do is I want to go ahead, take our first break. When we come back, we're going to talk obviously more about the book. The book is called 42 Stories, Life, the Universe, Everything. We're also going to talk about the companion podcast that's with it as well. Don't go anywhere. You're listening to GhostBox Radio on AM 950. Moonstone Minneapolis is a queer-owned, community-focused gift shop in South Minneapolis centered on curiosity, connection, and self-discovery. Explore astrology, tarot, crystals, herbs, mindfulness, and spiritual practices in a welcoming environment for all backgrounds and experience levels. Located at 3304 East Lake Street in Minneapolis, Moonstone Minneapolis also hosts makers markets, classes, and community events. Learn more at moonstoneMPLS.com and discover a welcoming place to explore with curiosity and respect. Greg Bakun here. It's nice to get out of the Twin Cities and take some travel excursion to some great locations. Minnesota has so much to offer, which is why I love traveling down to Wabasha and staying at the historic Anderson House Hotel. Opened in 1856, this beautiful hotel offers comfortable accommodations, has a delicious restaurant, and even a speakeasy in the basement to unwind with a drink. Located next to the Mississippi River and on Main Street, there is a lot of sightseeing and shopping to do too. To get more information, go to theandersonhousehotel.com. Greg Bakun here. Like you, I love good, fresh, delicious food. So I want to tell you about this treasure in Roseville called Maverick's Real Roast Beef. Maverick's has the best roast beef sandwiches I've ever had. Made fresh every order. Add fries or onion rings dropped in the fryer when ordered, and you have a winning combination. Maverick's Real Roast Beef has a lot more than roast beef, so check out their website, mavericksbeef.com, or check out their restaurant on Lexington in Roseville. Greg Bakun here. I've been talking for a while about how spooky, fun, and fascinating the Minneapolis trolley tours are, but now there's big news. The Candlelight Ghost Tours now begin at the historic Pillsbury Club, a beautifully restored haunted mansion once owned by Charles Pillsbury himself. Believe it or not, the interior is nearly 200 years older than the exterior. How is that possible? You'll have to come out and find out. Before or after your tour, stop by the on-site market featuring a curated collection of handmade goods, artisan crafts, and locally inspired treasures. Perfect for picking up a keepsake to remember your haunting adventure. You'll also find exclusive spooky merchandise from Tales of the Crypt and Elvira. Then, climb aboard the climate-controlled trolley as we travel through Minneapolis' haunted hotspots, uncovering ghost stories that locals would rather keep buried. The mansion is restored to perfection, and there is no better way to spend an evening. Visit MinneapolisTrolleyTours.com for tickets and more information. Looking for something different for family fun, a night out with friends, or your next team-building event? Try the escape rooms at Lilliput. Step into the haunted mansion, race to find a cure in the bunker, or survive Night of the Wolf, all with just 60 minutes to escape. It's private, immersive, and perfect for groups of all kinds. Book your adventure now, spots fill fast. Visit lilliput.net and see if your team has what it takes to escape. So as we come up to the weekend, I have a couple suggestions for you. One of the things is that we just heard is Lilliput. Lilliput, I remember as a kid myself going to, and it's absolutely fantastic. What a lot of fun over in Coon Rapids. There you can do the mini golf, glow golf, which nothing like that existed when I was a kid. And also talking about escape rooms. Honestly, this is a place that has it all, and this is kind of why it's so much fun to go out to a place like this, because you can do a lot of different things. Now, I'm not smart enough for escape rooms, but what I do like about them is that they are great for group events, and they're also really good for like work outings as well. So, give them a try. Go to lilyput.net to see what they have going on. And like I said in this commercial, they have a brand new arcade out there. It's fantastic. Go-karts. Go have a great time. But I also want to let everyone know tomorrow night over at the Pillsbury Club in Minneapolis, the headquarters of Minneapolis Trolley Tours, Char Savoy and myself will be leading our bi-weekly paranormal investigation of the mansion, at least the upper 2 floors. And every single time we do this, it's a different investigation because we're in different parts of the house every single time. And it's a lot of fun. We've had some great activity the last few weeks. People really enjoy it. And if by the time that you decide, I'm going to get tickets for tomorrow night and it might be sold out, just know we're doing this every other week up until and through Halloween. So they'll have the dates there. You can pick whatever day you want. And let's go and talk to some spirits. It's a lot of fun. I am having a great time here because I am talking with author Paul David Stanko. We're talking about 42 stories, life, the universe, everything, the new book that Paul has put together. We've been talking about it. And one of the things I wanted to kind of get to is that I wanted to talk about this companion podcast that you have going on that you're doing. That's the stories behind the stories, right?
Yes. Now, there's a story behind that story too. So and you're going to love this. So I was doing a reading with a gentleman by the name of Jonathan Mark in like March of this year. The book was, I hadn't quite got to the publisher yet. I had it to a bunch of different publishing houses, and he brought through my mom. And my mom came through, and she passed in 2018. And she was telling Jonathan that she thinks I need to do a podcast. And I'm like, well, I don't really feel like a podcaster. That's not really my vibe. And it's like, it's one more thing to do. And I'm a musician. Okay. But right. He knew a guy. I'm like, okay, well, I'll at least try it. So I connected with his guy, this producer guy, and recorded the first episode. I'm like, wait a minute, this is really fun. And what I like about the podcast is each week we unpack not only the stories behind the stories, but we get to dig deeper into the physics of metaphysics, right? Or the religious aspects of it, or different pop culture references that, like we talked earlier about there being, lots of different things that tie together from different franchises. So I'm blending franchises like a son of a gun here, because what it does is it gives depth to the chapters. In fact, I've got one person who is reading each chapter after I do the podcast or right before I do the podcast, and she looks at it as her Sunday event, which is a cool way to look at it. We're on episode 5, just aired this week. I've recorded them obviously in advance, but it's so fun to dig in to the theories behind what I'm talking about in the book and be able to get a little deeper. And I get to tell you all my embarrassing stories, which I don't get to tell all of them in the book, but I get to expand upon them, which is really fun. I think it's fun for me. I hope people are enjoying them as well, because I've been really dumb most of my life. And that's what I'm hoping. I've made so many mistakes that by sharing them with you, you don't have to, unless of course you want to, right? And that's, again, the spirit of the book.
And this podcast, first of all, and if you said it real fast, I apologize. What's the name of it?
It's forgiveness, unity, courage, and the ampersand, kindness. And it's available on all your podcast platforms. And I titled it that because it's a chapter in the book, but I also, once this book is done, if I really enjoy it, I want to keep going on and maybe doing it. So it gives me that flexibility. But right now, at this point, for the first 42 episodes, it will be unpacking each chapter. And the episodes are only a half hour long. I wanted to keep it short, something you can listen to on the way to work or, on a jog or something. So it's not tons of time pontificating, but it is fun. And again, bringing in lots of different colorful stories, more pop culture references. In fact, this week we talked about Singing in the Rain and the fact that Gene Kelly was sick during the filming of that. And how that applies to the lesson that we're talking about. And all of that stuff just kind of weaves together. And you should check it out. Every podcast platform, Spotify, Apple Music, Deezer, wherever you get your podcasts, Amazon as well.
So once again, and going back to the book, which the book once again is called 42 Stories, Life, the Universe, Everything. That's available everywhere. And go to your local bookseller, see if they don't have it, if they can order it for you, to try to keep those folks in business.
For sure.
One thing that came across that you had talked about just now is that you really expose yourself in this. Really, you're basically naked. You could have called it Paul David Stanko naked. I mean, it could have, thankfully you didn't. But
thank you. I think
no, that's just more because it's just not a good name.
Well,
It's
not good anymore. 20 years ago, maybe, but not anymore.
That wasn't a comment on whether or not you have a good body. Okay, I just wanted to just say that it's not just not a great name for a book. But was it easy for you to be like, I'm gonna just really put myself out there like that, or did you have to kind of convince yourself?
First of all, there is a chapter in the book called Naked or Nude where I unpack some of the logic behind that, which really is, if you're doing a nude, it's tasteful, right? But if you're naked, that means there's shame in it. You get captured in it. I have always been an open book. In fact, back when the internet first started, when you kids were just little kids,
back in dial-up,
an online blog, an online journal, right? I journaled my thoughts, and it was pretty. Some people said, didn't receive it well because it was totally honest. But I think that we spend so much time hiding behind these illusions, these masks that we wear, and when we allow ourselves to be nude, meaning that I am choosing to release this as myself and being authentically who I am, it gives me a freedom because you can't hold that over my head. Think about all these scandals. They're always about things being hidden behind, people doing things, nefarious things in dark rooms. I'm just laying it all out there for you so you can see my flaws, because I'm not some super wise guy. I'm not your guru. I'm just a messy human, just like all of us are. And if we can give ourselves permission to be real and authentic, and you can learn from my mistakes and laugh with me, because I'm definitely laughing as I'm telling you these stories, because some of the experiences were horrific at the time, but now looking back on them, I understand the role they played in my development. And that helped me become who I am. And maybe it'll help you get over some of your fears that the things you've done are horrific or embarrassing, and just have fun and laugh with it. Because when you're laughing, that vibration is close to the vibration of love, which is the vibration of source. And if I can get you there and give you permission to be real, what would this world look like if we weren't worried about our filters? Now, to be fair, I think I put a filter on this so I look, beautiful and young. But if we weren't worried about filters, how different would our world be if our interactions were authentic, if we said the truth?
Now, you consider what I have on as a filter, because I just have pretty much all the lights out. That's you have a filter to look young and beautiful. I just have the lights out. You don't need to see me. But it's interesting too, because you just said it, and I think it's a very big important thing to be able to say what really happened to you, to be able to be very truthful about it and be able to be open about it. And not everyone should have to if they don't want to, but I think in your mind. But I think in your mind, you need to, right? You need to always because I think people, even in their mind, they kind of almost like revisionist sort of history sometimes, so they don't have to go through it. But it's a great way to heal yourself, to be able to be honest with yourself, let alone writing a book about it, But
well, I think you said it, Greg. You have to be honest with yourself to heal.
Yeah.
And, all of us are a mess. There isn't a single person on this planet that isn't a mess in some way, shape, or form. And by going through your stuff and working through and giving yourself permission to do, you don't have to do it publicly like I'm doing it. I'm just doing it as an example because that's my role in this incarnation of my life. But we should be doing that for ourselves. We should be honest with ourselves. And I use a lot of examples. There's a lot of examples. There's the example in the chapter called "The Devil Hath Power to Assume a Pleasing Shape," where I talk about something I did in college that was, for me, I was doing it because I loved someone who gave me a challenge and I was in love with this person, but I ended up hurting someone because what the actions that I did were not my highest self. But by me sharing that with you, number one, it's an apology. But number two, I'm showing you that I am not perfect. I am a hot mess. And if I'm a hot mess, I can do it, you can be too. But the only way you can do it is if you're honest with yourself and you work on healing. And that's sometimes for many of us, the hardest parts.
Absolutely. That first, it's and maybe I'm overthinking it, but it's kind of like alcoholism in the sense of like your first step is to admitting that you are that. I think the first step here is to just be like, I can be truthful with myself. Yeah.
And admitting you're a jerk. Sometimes I'm a jerk, right? And I have to be okay with that because it's part of who I am. And then I quote Grace Jones' Slave to the Rhythm. There's an old dance song from the 80s, and there's a line in it where at the breakdown at the end of the album version where she says, all these sides, I've decided now that all these sides make up who I am, and either I live with it or I don't live with it, whether I like it or not. And I grabbed onto that back in the 80s because that's exactly it. If I don't like it or do like it is irrelevant because it's part of what got me here. And I might as well forgive myself because none of us are perfect. We're not supposed to be perfect. That's not the plan. And I just make a different choice moving forward, then I've changed.
You might be the first person to say Grace Jones on the planet in 15 years. I just want to let you know that.
She's still doing some really good stuff, man.
She's dead, isn't she?
No, she's still recording.
Grace
Corporate
Jones?
Cannibal. Go check out that album. It's amazing.
Are we in two different timelines here right now?
No, I'm going to send you a video afterwards because she's still alive and kicking, to the best of my knowledge. All
right. This isn't what the show's about. I understand. Oh my God. Anyway. But don't ever judge what's popular by anything I say because I am the antithesis of that.
I don't think she's popular. I just said she's not dead.
I don't think.
So let's be clear.
I thought she died. Anyway.
Maybe I'll Google it when I'm done.
No. We're gonna take an early commercial break here. But here's something I want to ask. Because you bring up something, and I think the idea of like we're all jerks to people on occasion, right? And I think that we don't want to be, but sometimes it happens. And I think what's important here is the ability to like acknowledge it. And then apologize for it, or have a follow up with whoever you're a jerk about, or jerk to. Do you touch on that in the book at all?
In a lot of different ways. I would say that what I touch on it more is less about the apology part because that's forgiveness for sure. We touch a whole bunch on forgiveness, but the idea is then just make a different choice. So if you're a jerk, apologize, a good thing, but the lesson the apology is make a different choice moving forward. Just do something different. Make a different choice as you evolve. And that shows that you were sincere. Words are just words. And people say lies all the time. And in fact, our current news cycle, it's hard to decipher what's true. Proof is in the pudding. So just be a different person. Make the change. And that's apology enough.
And I want to apologize right now because Grace Jones is alive. She's 78. She's 78 years old. So, I apologize. For those big Grace Jones fans that are listening tonight and are like, "Oh my God, what?" She is in fact still alive.
I heard a collective sigh go across the universe.
The people are leaving the vigils that they just started, right? So no. Before we take a break here, I have one other question real fast. Well, you know what? I think I'm gonna save it actually because I want to make sure that you have time to answer it because it's not a big question, but I mean it's a big part of what your book is. So I want to make sure that I get that in there. So why don't we go ahead, take another break? Once again, the name of the book is 42 Stories, Life, the Universe, Everything. Author Paul David Stanko. We're going to talk more about the book. We're going to rejoice the fact that Grace Jones is still alive. Don't go anywhere. You're listening to GhostBox Radio on AM 950. Greg Bakun here. I've told you about the out-of-the-world roast beef sandwiches at Maverick's Real Roast Beef, but I haven't told you about their Philly steak sandwiches. turkey, bacon, avocado sandwich, BLT, crispy chicken, fish sandwiches, brisket, or pulled pork. Okay, you get the idea. They make a lot of delicious food to the same standard as their famous roast beef sandwiches, and now I'm starving. I'm going to go to Maverick's Real Roast Beef off Lexington and Roseville, and you need to go too. Check out their menu at mavericksbeef.com. Greg Bakun here. I've been talking for a while about how spooky, fun, and fascinating the Minneapolis trolley tours are, but now there's big news. The Candlelight Ghost Tours now begin at the historic Pillsbury Club, a beautifully restored haunted mansion once owned by Charles Pillsbury himself. Believe it or not, the interior is nearly 200 years older than the exterior. How is that possible? You'll have to come out and find out. Before or after your tour, stop by the on-site market featuring a curated collection of handmade goods, artisan crafts, and locally inspired treasures. Perfect for picking up a keepsake to remember your haunting adventure. You'll also find exclusive spooky merchandise from Tales of the Crypt and Elvira. Then, climb aboard the climate-controlled trolley as we travel through Minneapolis' haunted hotspots, uncovering ghost stories that locals would rather keep buried. The mansion is restored to perfection, and there is no better way to spend an evening. Visit MinneapolisTrolleyTours.com for tickets and more information. Moonstone Minneapolis is a queer-owned, community-focused gift shop in South Minneapolis centered on curiosity, connection, and self-discovery. Explore astrology, tarot, crystals, herbs, mindfulness, and spiritual practices in a welcoming environment for all backgrounds and experience levels. Located at 3304 East Lake Street in Minneapolis, Moonstone Minneapolis also hosts makers markets, classes, and community events. Learn more at moonstonempls.com and discover a welcoming place to explore with curiosity and respect. It's that time of year where the weather is getting nice and it's time to get out of the house for some family fun. Lilliput is open for the season, and you know what that means. Lilliput is known for its mini golf, go-karts, glow golf, jump pads, kiddie carts, gem mining, and even a new arcade. Lilliput also has interactive and engaging escape rooms like the Haunted Mansion, the Bunker, or Night of the Wolf. Lilliput is perfect for parties and group events. Stop by lilliput.net for more information and hours of operation. Greg Bakun here. It's nice to get out of the Twin Cities and take some travel excursions to some great locations. Minnesota has so much to offer, which is why I love traveling down to Wabasha and staying at the historic Anderson House Hotel. Opened in 1856, this beautiful hotel offers comfortable accommodations, has a delicious restaurant, and even a speakeasy in the basement to unwind with a drink. Located next to the Mississippi River and on Main Street, there is a lot of sightseeing and shopping to do too. To get more information, go to theandersonhousehotel.com. Now, Roger Moore had passed away, and maybe that's where I'm getting my confusion, only because of that, A View to a Kill is on my mind all the time. So, I'm a big James Bond fan, so maybe that's where all that happened. Real fast, join me tomorrow on GhostBox Radio with Greg Bakun. We are going to replay an episode of Casual Friday from November 2024, as Shar and I will be out doing our event tomorrow night at the Pillsbury Club, and then we'll be back Monday. I'll be back Monday with a brand new episode, as I will have Adam and Andra with me, and we are going to be talking about the investigation and the remote viewing that psychic medium Jennifer Lee did on Wednesday, the 22nd, which was very fascinating. So much to unpack there. Though tonight I have, and I'm very excited, I really enjoy this conversation, Paul David Stanko. We're talking about 42 stories, life, the universe, everything. It's the newest book that he has out. Really worthwhile to pick it up, take a read. And also, you can get the book over at ghostboxradio.com/ghostbox book club. There's an Amazon affiliated link. And that's helpful because it helps GhostBox directly. But also, once again, we say, don't forget, go to your local bookstore, see if they can order for you, because we want to make sure that they stay in business themselves. And, I think one of the things too, Paul, I want to kind of really make that connection about too is, like you said, and we haven't really touched on this, and we probably should have you back at some point to talk more about, the metaphysical side that you work in, the tarot card reading, because what we're talking about, and some people might be like, oh, well, this is self-help. What this has to really do with like GhostBox in terms of like we always talk paranormal and stuff. But the thing is, this is truly all connected, isn't it?
Yep, absolutely. So it's all of it comes together, and a lot of the things that we're dealing with are not self-help topics per se. We're talking metaphysics. We're talking, again, a vibratory universe. We're talking this is a hologram. We're talking some of the ideas of the tarot cards I'll refer to in the chapters because I find that those are tools to help us along our journey. A tarot reading is self-help if you listen to the advice the universe is giving you and take and move it on. And I also talk about the fact that I'm a channel in this book. I was just actually rereading that chapter for the audiobook the other day, and it reminded myself that I said, at the time I wrote the book, I wasn't a full-fledged channel. I was just beginning to dabble into it. And now I'm doing events. I have another event coming up in August, doing channeling where I let higher consciousness speak through me. So all of that works together, and it's all in there. And I call this spirituality with hot sauce because I've chosen language that I can't use on the radio, specifically to shock people out of thinking that holiness or spirituality or divinity only belongs in a sacred building somewhere that you go on Sundays or Wednesdays or Saturdays, right? I think that divinity is everywhere. I think that source energy speaks to us through all different things, and that is prevalent in how I present all of this. So all of it does tie together. My music, in fact, in the podcast, my latest single is the music that's in the background of the podcast, right? The book ties into the podcast, obviously. The tarot cards, I refer to them more frequently in the podcast because I have more space to unpack all of those stories, but it all works together. Absolutely, Greg.
I also really like the idea, and I got to be careful how I say this, not because of anything with you, but I mean my own views on religion and stuff, because when you say divinity isn't just like a Sunday thing, it's all the time. I couldn't agree with you more. And once it wasn't until I got into paranormal, which honestly, metaphysical, paranormal, they're the same thing in a lot of ways, in every way.
Just different. Yes, they are very much are. We talked about this, and I agree with you. And
so,
yeah, and
go ahead.
Go ahead. Well, I was just going to say that, the idea of the metaphysical is, in the paranormal, specifically, you're looking for evidence of life after death, right? Of energies continuing on. And it's the same thing that people have been trying to figure out in religions. And remember, I'm going back to and say, no one in any religion has this corner of the market. They're all just making it up, right? And that's one of the things I give you permission to do in this book is make up your version of what this is. As long as no one's getting hurt and you're trying to make this place better, doesn't matter what you believe. Doesn't matter which road takes you to Rome. All roads lead to Rome. There's another analogy for you. Didn't use that one in the book, though.
No, that's for the 43rd story. That when you start the
Correct,
next one. But and the thing is, what I was getting at there too is once I got into this, it was so much easier for me. And this is just a personal aside. It was so much easier for me to go with that belief of divinity is all the time. I don't know what it was. I have some suspicion of why I feel that way about it, but it suddenly that's where I started to vibe. That's where I started to get it. And it shifted my journey, my life into one of really understanding the nuances of humanity, as well as the nuances of just trying to be the best person you can be, because you're going to make everything better for everybody if you can do that.
Well, and we forget that it's all just source anyway. It's all us anyway. And that's a concept we dig into quite a bit in the book. We keep bringing it up because, to your point, people who've been raised in organized religions, no matter what it is, have been indoctrinated into a certain way of belief. And this book is designed to break you out of that into your own understanding of what divinity means to you, what God means to you. I don't use the word God very often because it has so much baggage to it. So I call it source energy, right? But we are all part of source. Source is the beginning, right? And if we're all part of the same thing, you and I are having just us having conversations with ourselves. And then if we can take that to everyone else and realize that everyone else is an aspect of us, they're just different parts of the body of all that is, then maybe we have a little bit of grace understanding that they just haven't evolved as far. And maybe we can help them through our example. And it is never about words I say. It is never about things I preach or speak. It is about how I am as a person. That's, and going back to your original question of why would this have more validity than me telling you what to do, is because I am showing you through how I am. Does that make sense? Right? And
it
if
does.
you see how I am and choose to replicate that in your way, awesome. Right? And if you don't, awesome. That's your choice. You have free will.
But that goes back to the thing that we also talked about when talking about if you're a jerk to somebody, and I said if you can apologize to them, and this is I think where it really reinforces what you said about, well, they can't just be words. It has to be what, it has to be the essence of who you are. And
rubber has to meet the road. Rubber has to meet the road.
Absolutely.
Or it's just a bunch of crap. And so much of it is. People say things just to get their way to manipulate other people. And this is all about not being manipulated anymore. This is about freeing you to be in control of your life. That's the biggest gift I can give you is your life back. Whomever you are listening, reading, empowering you to find your journey and your truth, and realizing that you're not wrong. Just because I don't want to do it or someone else doesn't want to do it doesn't make it wrong. It just makes it wrong for them.
Yep.
We have a whole chapter on your non-binary soul, which really addresses the issue of transgenderism, which is a big deal now. People, it's never not been a big deal, but it's no one's business, right? And we get so involved in it. And, through past life regressions, I found out that I've been a woman before. And that's okay, great, cool. That was that life, that aspect. And it does inform who I am as a soul, but it really has nothing to do with Paul David right now, because I don't choose to let that have anything to do with Paul David right now. But if someone else decides they want to have that experience, that's not my business. You do you, boo, right?
Absolutely.
No, it's nothing to do with me.
I have enough going on in my life to worry about than to worry about what somebody else's life choices are. As long as they're not harming anyone else, themselves, me, they're living. Once again, it always comes back to living the life that you want to live. Then go for it.
And there's so many different philosophies that say basically the golden rule: do unto others you have them do unto you. Right? So let people live their life. When I'm doing tarot readings, I open up when I have people sign up for a mailing list, and one of my little jokes that I think is funny is I tell people at the beginning, I'm not going to tell you to run your life because I got no program of my own, and everyone laughs, and then we sign up for a mailing list. But then I'll get into the reading, and I'll say the reason why I said that was I'm not going to tell you to run your life because it's not my life to run; it's yours. You're the conscious creator of your experience, and your experience has to be different than mine, because otherwise we'd be having the same experience. And I mean, why? Why would anyone want to do this all over again? Do it from a different perspective. And if we can understand, like a diamond, like this crystal here, all of these little facets are just, it's one rock, but they all take the light differently. And if we can look at life like that and understand that everyone's just a different facet of a crystal and just admire it, or think of a tapestry, right? A tapestry, all the different colors of fabric weaved together to make that countryside scene. Now, if they were all just green, it'd be a blanket. Nothing wrong with the blanket, but it doesn't have that variety, it doesn't have that contrast. And the golds make the blues pop more, and the reds stand against the blacks. And that's what makes it, you can then see the contrast. And we talk a lot about contrast in this book as well.
That is
and
great.
Understanding it. Yeah.
We have about 2 minutes left here. It goes by quick.
So fast. Holy cow.
Here we are. I wanted to quickly talk about how hard was it for you to match up the pop culture to the stories?
Oh, not hard at all, because I'm a huge fan of movies. I'm a huge fan of pop culture, and it flows fairly quickly for me. And there's even more. What was hard not matching them up is deciding which one of the 10 to use.
That makes sense.
And that's where the podcast comes in.
I was going to just say that's where the podcast. And can you say the name of the podcast one more time, please, for everybody?
Forgiveness, Unity, Courage, and Kindness. The "and" is an ampersand, and you can find it on all of your streaming platforms.
I love it. And when's the next episode drop?
Next Wednesday. It drops every Wednesday. We're 5 episodes in. Next Wednesday will be number 6. So fun, and I think I'm funny. I mean, I may not be funny, but I'm laughing my butt off, so I'm enjoying it a lot.
Well, and you got to have fun with it, because doing a podcast is a lot of work. It really, I mean, it is, but you got to have fun with it. Otherwise, what's the point, right? I mean, and that's.
And I also want to be clear that both the book and the podcast, not safe for work. I've been very, very good here. I'm filtering my words a lot. I do not do that on the podcast. So if you like that kind of thing, you will rock on the podcast.
And you could tell the self censoring with stuff like unpack your stuff, because I know what you really want to say, and
right, you know my language.
I appreciate that you appreciate that we need the FCC, so I appreciate that very much.
100%.
Once again, folks, the book is called 42 Stories, Life, the Universe, Everything, written by author Paul David Stanko. Real fast, do you have any places that you are going to make appearances at within the next week or two that you want to share?
Yeah, absolutely. I'll be at the Edge Life Expo in Maple Grove this weekend. The first weekend of August, I will be at Echo Bodine Center for the mini Orapalooza. And then on that Sunday, I will be with Rooted Events in Lake Elmo. So branching out kind of all over the Twin Cities area. And you can come for a reading. You can come get a book. I'll be happy to sign it. We can talk about it. So just reach out. My email address has been in my signature, intuitivepd@gmail.com. My website is pauldavidmusic.net. I'm also a musician. Check out the cool music.
Paul, what a great show. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Greg. Appreciate you.
Appreciate you too. We'll be back tomorrow with Casual Friday. Everyone, have a great night, and we will see you tomorrow.
See you later.